Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. There's been a lot of talk about Joe Joyce. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. All 4 of his defeats have been in his last 5 fights. He was stopped twice by Zhilei Zhang. One of them was a clean knockout in the second fight. Mercifully, at least that was over quick. But he shipped a lot of punishment in that fight prior to being knocked out. He was stopped on an injury. Derek Chisora also outpointed him and floored him. And then at the weekend, Filip Hrgovic, it was an absolute firefight, a shootout, a lot of punishment absorbed by both people. And Joe lost that as well. There he is, 39 years old, talking about continuing. But a lot of people are saying, come on, Joe, you need to knock it on the head now, mate. You know, you're taking too much punishment. Why don't you call it a day? Look, Joe is 39 years old. Even if you take away the defeats, he was renowned for being someone who was whose best form of defense was his jaw, was his chin. And that's never, ever a good thing for any boxer. Boxing is supposed to be the art of hitting and not being hit. With Joe, that never seemed to occur to him, really. It was all just about, I'll take 1 or I'll take 2 to land 1, which is not the way boxing is supposed to be. He has always been, in other words, very, very easy to hit. A lot of people have pointed towards his interviews. I don't think he was ever a very interesting or interested interviewer. It's like, I couldn't care less, you know. It's like he'd answer a few questions. He's a very polite man. Seems like a really nice guy out of the ring. But I'm not convinced that his interviews now, where people have accused him of sort of zoning out and that, you know, slurring his words and all this sort of stuff, that neurologically there is something not right with him. I don't know about that, because I don't think he ever seemed like he was particularly good in the raconteur department, shall we say. But as we know, with CTE, it sort of manifests itself later on in life, not so much now. And look, whenever I make these videos about these subjects, I like to sort of play devil's advocate. So let's have a think about the fact that, you know, Joe has only had 20 fights, even though he shipped out enough punishment, more punishment than most people have in, you know, 50 fights. I mean, I get that it's everything's relative, but he is saying, look, I'm carrying on. This is a load of nonsense. It's good money. People talk a lot about CET. That's a load of rubbish, load of crap. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm going to continue. I want to continue. Whether he will continue under the banner of, you know, Queensberry or not, I don't know, because his only option at this point, having lost his last 4, might be to act as sort of food for the up and comers. He's going to have to beat someone. When he's going to have to come into a fight as another underdog. I say another underdog because I think most people, myself included, thought Hrgovic would stop him, and that proved to not be the case. But my God, he took some punishment. Well, Hrgovic did as well, didn't he? And again, to play devil's advocate, he's only had 20 fights compared to Derek Chisora's 49. Derek Chisora, people were screaming at him to retire 5 years ago. And he's got 3 on the bounce, 3 wins on the bounce. And miraculously, somehow, I think he's the mandatory for the IBF belt. So as with any moral point, you have to have consistency. I'm going to assume that if you feel Joe Joyce should retire, you also feel Derek Chisora should retire. I've said in previous videos that with regard to Derek, I think the ship may have sailed. I think that the amount of punishment he's taken which is more, I think, than Joe has. Look, if he stopped now, obviously, if you get more and more punishment, it's going to be worse and worse later on. But I think we're past the point where he can avoid any kind of neurological issue by the time he's 50, 55, 60. Joe, has he reached that point yet? He might have done. But we should also remember that there are certain people who are kind of freaks of nature. One thing is George Chuvalo, Randall Tex Cobb. If you're talking heavyweights, Oliver McCall, who's pushing 60, and he's still fighting unbelievably against very low opposition. But there have been other fighters at different weights who took an unholy amount of punishment and somehow came out the other side still being able to remember their name. Those unusual cases do exist, and one hopes that in the case of Joe and Derek that they're going to have dodged the bullet, or should I say bullets, plural, lots of them, bombs, grenades. But I don't know. I completely understand why someone would say to Joe Joyce, knock it on the head, mate. Enough's enough. Please retire. And like I say, people have been saying that to Derek for years. I get it. I don't like telling boxers when to retire. I can say when I think they should retire. And yes, I think Joe Joyce should retire. I think Derek Chisora should have retired a long time ago. But yeah, are they? Probably not, no. Derek, what is Derek now? 41? 40, 41? Joe's 39. It doesn't bode well, does it? Doesn't bode well. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me what you think. Tell me which side of the fence you're on. Yeah, and I'll read your comments. And of course, thank you. Thank you for listening to the video. If you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe as usual. Thank you very, very much for your time, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.